Hi, everyone. It's Kim Reinecke again. Um, I wanted to update you on my progression with my Parkinson's and my essential tremors. Um, I just had some very bad news from a friend. Um, so I'm trying to get my emotions back together in order to do the video. But it's been a bad couple of years, and I think all of us can say that. Um, we've gone through COVID, still going through it. Um, I've seen so many posts just today on Facebook on the essential tremor and the Parkinson's websites, um, the group websites regarding questions with essential tremors, the difference between that and Parkinson's, um, the testings, the difference between the MRIs and a DAT scan. Um, there is one of our group members that is doing an amazing job at journaling her experience of going through DBS, her bravery, because I know that had to, each day, the way she describes what her day has been like, the pain, the details about the blood on the staples, how her hair was matted, um, washing her hair for the first time, um, the headaches, the just, and then to, I think this is day 4 or day 5, something like that, and she had a really great day, and she got to drive down the road um, with the sunroof down and see the sunshine and feel the sunshine on her. So I know how wonderful that can be. Um, I've had a little bit of a setback, not from my Parkinson's or my essential tremors. Um, I have always had issues with my stomach. I've got gastroesophageal reflux. I've got diverticulosis. I've got IBS. That's another thing that my doctor has told me, that it could be a precursor to one of my symptoms of my Parkinson's. But even though I had fought really hard during the last year and a half of going through hell, I all the medications I was on, people always say God only gives you what you can handle. And even though I did want to take my life several times during my suffering, to get my symptoms under control. It's true. He only gives you what you can handle. So, after getting my definitive diagnosis of Parkinson's from the DAT scan, I think it was about a month ago when I got the results, and I did my last video, but excuse me. I had been getting treated with the medication, the carbidopa-levodopa, which is Simonet, same thing that they give for Parkinson's. And then the 23 medications that had been tried on me for my essential tremors, my back issues, everything else for the last year and a half. Well, my doctor kept on asking me, my primary care, asking me how my stomach was doing through the whole process. And I don't know if it was the pain from the Parkinson's and the back and the tremors and all of that that distracted me from any stomach issues, or if, like I said, it's just God gives you only what you can handle. I had started losing weight, losing my appetite about 2 months ago, but I thought it was due to the medication. And I would eventually level that out. Well, it got worse about 3 weeks ago. The nausea was worse and worse. My primary care changed my medication. The nausea would last for a couple of days. Then I'd be okay. Then it would come back for a couple of days. And then last Wednesday, which was almost a week ago, almost a week ago, because today is Friday, July the 1st. Or Thursday, July the 1st, sorry. That I could not hold anything in my body. No fluids, no food. I had been for weeks drinking ginger tea, eating ginger candy, peppermint tea, eating chicken noodle soup, saltines, that type of thing. I knew I needed to see my gastroenterologist, so I had made an appointment for this past Monday, and tried holding out. Tried very hard holding out to see her. Thought I could do it after what I had been through, and pain-wise, and suffering through everything that I had suffered through for the last year and a half. Well, couldn't do it anymore. Sunday, I ended up in the ER, so dehydrated that my entire body was cramped. 3 bags of fluid, stomach CT, blood work, lots of Finnegan, which, come to find out, is not recommended with carbidopa-levodopa. But the ER did what they had to do, and I thank God they did, because even after I got out of the ER and saw my gastroenterologist Monday, she didn't even want to do any testing, because she was afraid it would make my condition worse. So it's enteric colitis, which is basically inflammation in your intestines, in your stomach. And that's typical with someone with conditions like me. And she thinks it's the medication, which we all kind of knew that. All the different medications I had been on. As of Sunday, I was in a month's period of time, I think I had lost 20 pounds. I actually gained 2 pounds back after I went to the ER from the fluids. Thank God for that. But so I'm still fighting that. Ended up having to do suppositories. I'm still having a hard time trying to get any type of food in my stomach. I thank God whoever finally thought of, Pedialyte popsicles, because that's the only thing fluid-wise I was able to keep down was popsicles. And Pedialyte, of course, I needed the electrolytes. So regular popsicles were doing okay, but they weren't great. So, but I want to go back to what I've been reading on our groups, and just giving, people heads up on, that haven't seen my videos, that are new to the groups, that have been, posting things about, MRIs and movement disorder specialists, how they've been getting the runaround, like I got the runaround, it's all in your head. Oh, you have just essential tremors, there's nothing we can do about it. Turn around, walk away. They see you for 5 minutes. I've told you all about the, Duke movement disorder specialist, Burton Scott, at Duke Neurology, who is supposed to be, like number one. Duke Neurology is supposed to be number one. No, they're not. He was the third doctor I saw there. And not only I recorded our visit, which as a patient, you're allowed to do that by law. The risk management person, when I filed a complaint at Duke, stated to me in a letter and on the phone that it's not a good idea to do that. Well, you know what? By law, we're allowed to. They're not allowed to do that to us because HIPAA protects us. But Burton Scott and his fellow that had seen me, the doctor that was doing her fellowship with him, she spent more time with me than he did. He saw me move my arms, walk down the hall, said it's not Parkinson's. I asked him about my back pain because my primary care had told me that Duke should do a spinal workup, the neurologist should do a spinal workup. No. What he said, he stated to me, his exact words were, "Are you more concerned with your tremors or your back pain?" Well, you know what? They're tied together. So, yes, I'm concerned with both. So, when it comes to any physician that you are seeing, I don't care who it is, you can record them, record the session. If it's the first time you're seeing them, whether you take someone or not, it's always a good idea to take someone with you. If you can't, record them. Even if you do take them, record them. Record the visit. Record what they say, what they do. Ask them questions. Don't let them intimidate you. You're the patient. You're the one that they are supposed to be treating. I was misdiagnosed several times. I know several people that have been misdiagnosed several times. Unfortunately, with Parkinson's, with essential tremors, it's too common. And it's not always because the doctors are bad doctors or lazy doctors. It's a hard both diseases are very hard to diagnose. But if they are a doctor, their first do no harm. That is the Hippocratic oath that they take. First do no harm. They need to order tests. They need to go through each and every thing that you say to them. They need to write it down or record it so that they can document it in your chart and go back and read it later. I know that most visits are generally, you're lucky if you get 15 minutes with the doctor. My neurologist, first visit, I saw her 30 minutes, but they had already done testing on me before I even saw her. Then she told me, after she listened to my symptoms, she said, "You're coming back in 2 weeks. I'm doing a full exam." She spent an hour and a half with me doing a complete and full exam, stopping each time, documenting everything that she stated to me. She documented it in the computer. Everything I stated to her, she documented it and put it in the computer. So there would be nothing missed. So that's the next thing. You go to a doctor, they brush you off, you're moving on. Talk to friends, talk to anybody, people in the group, any of the groups, anybody that lives in your state. Ask for recommendations from their neurologists, from their movement disorder specialists, of physicians in your area that have, a good reputation. Not only was I lucky enough that one of my good friends worked at the hospital and knew of her and knew she had a good reputation. she didn't know anything about Parkinson's either. My friend didn't. She didn't know anything about movement disorder specialists. She worked in human resources. I have another friend that has Parkinson's. He talked to his neurosurgeon in Atlanta and asked for recommendations for me here in Eastern North Carolina. Her name came up. Her name was the only one. Research her name, and you will find the reputation that she has is impeccable. I didn't even research it. I was so desperate. I listened to this doctor. I listened to my girlfriend. I said, I called her office, got an appointment, had my doctor, primary care, refer me to her, and I got an appointment. It was a week later or 2 weeks later, my friend told me, yeah, he called me and he said, this is who my doctor recommends. And I said, oh my God, I've already got an appointment with her. Thank God for that. So next, like I said, keep going until your doctor listens to you and starts running the tests without you even having to ask for the tests. That's who you trust. That's who you keep as your doctor. Anyone else? Move it along. You don't have time to waste. You're already suffering. The sufferings are going to get worse. The next thing I wanted to address is the different tests that are done. I've pretty much had everything done. I was tested blood work wise. Of course, you get your normal, your thyroid, your what do they call it? Your chemistry panel, Huntington's disease, Wilson's disease. There's so many other ones that are done by blood. And if you go to one of the big specialists, let me tell you, any type of genetic testing is going to run you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Don't go through them. I had genetic testing done at ECU for Huntington's disease for $500 opposed to $5,000 at Duke. And thank God it was negative, because I would have been so freaking pissed because insurance wouldn't have covered it. So, another forewarning about that. Let's go back to the testing again. All of the testing that they do, I actually had a lot of back issues and started developing a hump on my back, in my cervical area. When I saw my neurologist and she had finally, I had gone through this severe back pain for almost a year, and my primary care had been treating me and been giving me steroids and things like that, and we really thought that it was probably from my bulging disc, which I have one in my L5S1, and I had issues with it years and years ago. So we thought that that was another thing. But when my symptoms got worse, my cognitive symptoms, my mobility, my all of it was getting worse and worse. And my primary care knew that there was, you know, another there was another disease, something else was causing all of this. It was not just essential tremors. And that's good primary care too. I've got the best. I have to admit that. I'm lucky. In the rinky dink little area that I live in, he's the best, hands down. And you want your primary care and your neurologist and all of your doctors to be able to work together and, you know, even if they're in different cities, still be able to work together in order to get you on the right path, the right treatment plan. So, as I said, my neurologist immediately started running all kinds of tests on me. I had an EEG done and a sleep study done when I went to Mayo Clinic, which some of y'all may have seen the videos from that when I went down to Jacksonville, Florida for that. Which, that also did rule out some things. And I do have sleep apnea. It didn't affect my essential tremors or my Parkinsons, but at least they did the tests. So after that, I went back to my neurologist here, and she immediately she ordered the MRIs on my back. I'd already had 2 MRIs on my head ordered by other neurologists. Nothing was found there. But because I started having issues with my back issues affected my hips, my legs, my feet, everything. I had what I thought was seizures, and they were actually seizures. I didn't lose consciousness, but it was part of the Parkinsonian effect. Um, um, it's I think it's called dyskinesia. Yeah, dyskinesia. Or types of dystonia, in where your body will jerk. So that happened to me twice. I'd fallen God knows how many times. Was on a walker. She immediately ran the MRIs on my lower back first. She did an EMG on my leg, my right leg, because that was the one that was causing the worst pain, which an EMG is where they actually test your nerves with needles. Not fun, but not the worst thing in the world. Which showed that there was irritation in my nerves. So that there was something going on with my spine and my hips. So the full gamut. Started off with the lumbar MRI, then did the thoracic and cervical MRI. The lumbar MRI showed arthropathy of the facet joints in the lumbar area. All of my facet joints, which are, you look at your spine and, you've got what I call, the little blocks, which are your bones that go down, each one that go down your spine, that protects your spinal nerve that goes from your head to the rest of your body. So you've got the blocks, and then you've got, in between the blocks, you've got your discs, which cushion the bones, the facets, the blocks. So on the facets, on the sides, on each side of the facet, so here's the block right here. So here's one side, here's the block again, here's the other side. Each side of those facets, I have arthritis building up, that is built up and will continue to build up. They also found my bulging disc in my L5S1 again. Then in my lumbar and my cervical, or not my lumbar, my thoracic and my cervical MRI, which is from the base of your neck down past your shoulder blades. And then your thoracic starts from that bottom area down to your lumbar, which is right at your hips. So that also showed arthropathy of the facet joints, which is the arthritis of the facet joints. And that bulge in my back, right where my neck and my shoulder blades are, that bulge is what's considered cervical dystonia, which is curvature of your neck and your spine, at your spine. There's a bulging disc there as well. Thank God that's not affecting me at this moment, but it will in the future. But the thing that has affected me the most with my back and my leg issues has been my lumbar area. So I had from L4, L5, L6, I think that's what it is. Those facets, I had what's called a facet block. So they get the doctor, the orthopedic, I had seen an orthopedic surgeon who my neurologist had referred me to to also look at my scans, because she's a neurologist. She doesn't know much about orthopedics. She, had seen some things in there that she understood, but not fully. So, of course, she referred me to the orthopedic surgeon. That he's the one that says arthropathy of the facet joints. You've got it running down your entire back. You've got the bulging discs. So a pain specialist, which the orthopedic surgeon referred me to, scheduled me for a facet block on my L4, L5, L6. So on each side, those blocks, again, right here, my right side and my left side of those blocks. He went in and they give you local anesthetic in that area to try to numb the area, and then they do what's called a facet block. So they inject a very strong steroid to help with the pain, so that you can go through physical therapy. And by that time, my medication had started, she had started treating me for Parkinson's after we had already been through all the other medications, the other testings that she had done, all the other testings the doctors had done. You know, the EMG that she had done on my leg, that was a big, game changer. Um, the MRI, that was a big game changer. Um, um, you know, all of that. And because of COVID, you know, going on through this entire process, and this was deep in the midst of COVID. Um, she had ordered the DAT scan, which I'm going to get to you guys again here in a minute. The difference between MRIs and DAT scan and CAT scans. She had ordered the DAT scan, which it is a lot harder. There's only certain facilities that can do DAT scans in my state, in most states. So because of COVID, they had shut down all the hospitals where, you could get this done. So she had ordered that from day one. So I'd waited months for that. So after, the other testing, the other MRIs, and she had started treating me with the carbidopa levodopa. And like I said, that was the game changer. And then with the facet block, that was the other game changer for me. I'm still going through physical therapy, and I'll be doing that for a very long time. I was scheduled for another facet block today, which had to be rescheduled because of my stomach issues. Which, again, I mean, the smallest thing can trigger your tremors, your Parkinson's symptoms, your, essential tremor symptoms. So, my stomach issues had also triggered that as well. But they did not want to do the second facet block because of my stomach issues and my Parkinson's, all of that. So, again, don't let a doctor dictate to you. You go find the right one for you. So, the difference between, because I've had them all done. I've had a CAT scan done on my brain. I've had 2 MRIs. I've had the DAT scan. Generally, when you first show any signs of a possible neurological issue, they will do a MRI. So, it depends on the doctor. If they're smart, they'll do an MRI, they'll order one with contrast and without. The contrast will show a little bit more details than without. And it depends on how bad your symptoms are at the time. But as I said, if it's a smart doctor, they'll do it all at once. And if your insurance will cover it, they'll do it all at once. So I had both those done. Then my neurologist at that time that had ordered all of that, who I didn't care for, was not, he was drugging me, just trying every drug in the world, saying, come back and see me in another 2 months and we'll run another test. No, I wasn't going to waste any more time with him. So, he did order a CAT scan, which is a little bit more detailed than an MRI and may show different types of neurological diseases that may be affecting your brain, or maybe some type of tumor or blood clot, anything like that may be affecting your brain. So then the DAT scan. The DAT scan is the only definitive way to fully diagnose, to truly diagnose Parkinson's. Your doctor can diagnose you with Parkinson's by your gait, by a physical, by different physical examinations, which we've all had done. Do this, touch your nose, go like this, that type of thing. Have you walk across the floor, turn around and watch you pivot, and how you pivot, whether you drag your legs, if you give on your hip or whatever it may be, they can diagnose you, that way if they're, a good doctor. And the DAT scan was not in full, it was not approved until 2011 by the FDA. So it was not used. There was nothing else to diagnose Parkinson's until 2011. It was only by physical examination and, testing medications, different medications. So if they gave you carbidopa, levodopa, or any other type of Parkinson's medication and it worked, then you had Parkinson's. That's how they diagnosed you. But now they have the DAT scans. They're becoming more common. Still not common enough. They're extremely expensive. So that's why most of the time doctors won't even order it. They won't. I actually had a doctor laugh at me and say, it's too expensive. No way. That's another doctor you would have kicked to the curb. Again, that's why I want to say, go to the next one. There's plenty of them. Well, actually, there's not, but you need to find another one. there's not enough neurologists in the world. There really aren't. If you do the research, there's not. There's not enough that, specialize in movement disorders. But anyways, so the DAT scan, it was finally approved by the FDA in 2011. They still don't do them that often. If you live in a larger city, then yes, I'm sure your neurologist will, if you have a lot of large healthcare systems around you that you have access to, then yes, your doctor will probably order a DAT scan, which, like I said, is the only definitive way to diagnose Parkinson's. So, when you go through an MRI, like I said, there's doctors that order them with and without contrast. The contrast will give a little bit more detail than one without. And what that is iodine that they run through your veins, and then they do the MRI, take the picture. DAT scan, a little similar. Just takes a little bit longer because how they do it is you have to go through certain blood work before they even do the testing on you, because what they do is they run radioactive dye through your veins in order to get the detailed picture in your brain, of your brain, that's going to show the dopamine receptors in your brain, whether you have a lot or you have a little, which if you have a little or a lower amount, that's a positive sign of Parkinson's. And what takes so long with this test is the fact that they inject you with the radioactive dye. They have to wait 3 hours before it goes through your system and reaches your brain. So that's why it takes so long. That is what a DAT is. It's also going to show you where your brain is being affected. And also, it'll tell your doctor whether it's Parkinson's or essential tremors or both that is affecting you. So, there is the definition. And at least what I've experienced, what I've read, what I've gone through, of, the different tests that you could and should be going through, that your doctor should be running on you, especially if you are progressing and as severely as you're progressing. I've mentioned this in my videos before. My doctors have told me that, like, MS, you can have symptoms that you don't know are early symptoms of Parkinson's, essential tremors, and MS for years prior to your diagnosis and to your full-blown symptoms. My symptoms, I've always had health issues. A lot of them. And I always just thought, oh, I'm a sickly girl. It's the type of person I am. So come to find out, not necessarily. That wasn't and I'm thankful to hear that I'm, wasn't crazy, wasn't, the sickly girl all the time. That all these different symptoms that I'd had with my blood pressure not being able to be controlled, some of my stomach issues that I had, things like that, could have been early signs of my Parkinson's. When I had the tremors start, when my blood pressure went out of control for the, I don't know, probably 5th, 6th time, in October of 2018, when I was in the ER, and I was tremoring. My left side was tremoring and my head was tremoring. I didn't think anything about it. I just thought, okay, this is another issue with my blood pressure. Well, that was my early sign. It was coming up. It was rearing its ugly head. Because come February 2019, just a few months later, that's when I had the full-blown essential tremors and just went completely downhill. That was February 2019. I had to stop working, file for disability in November 2019. So that tells you how quickly it progressed. I was using a cane in November. I went to a walker shortly after that. And as you see in my videos, for months. So, mine happened really fast. Other people's, well, mine didn't really happen really fast, but it quickly progressed once it really did rear its ugly head. Like I said, I had the early signs, my blood pressure being out of control, things like that. That could have been the early signs. We'll never know. And hopefully one day with the, clinical trials that are, coming up, the new clinical trials, and what the Fox Foundation's doing, it's not only going to be helping Parkinson's patients, any patients that have any type of movement disorders, period. They are doing such unique and unreal work. I'm so thankful for them, because I would have been suffering a lot longer. And I didn't have children, but my sister does. I don't want her child to have to go through what I went through. And I don't want my sister, God forbid, for her to have to ever go through this. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful that, the Fox Foundation and Parkinson's and essential tremors is finally starting to come to light. Thank God. But we need more people to talk about it, to tell their stories like I do. Um, you know, share it on YouTube, share it on, wherever you feel comfortable. It doesn't matter, it, you may not feel comfortable asking, the lady next to you who you see shaking, what's wrong with them. But you know what? Because it is embarrassing. We want to hide it. We hide away from everyone because nobody understands. Well, the reason why nobody understands is because nobody tells us. Nobody tells anybody anything. So that's why I do this. I want people to know. I want people to see. I want people to see how I've suffered, how other people have suffered. You watch Michael J. Fox, his videos from his younger years, all the videos, especially when he was on the late night show, with David Letterman, especially. He was on there 20 something times with David Letterman, I think, or 30 times. And how he, from his early diagnosis days, and he hid it. He hid his diagnosis for years. Watch how he shifts. He doesn't sit still because he's trying to hide it to this day, because his tremors are still so bad. He has to move around because there's a body part of him that has to move. He can't control it. So that's why he does what he does. And that's why I do what I do. And we all need to do that. If you don't want to share, don't. If you feel comfortable to share, please do. Share my story. Share your story. Share anybody's story that you know of. I was lucky. I had friends that, were trying to understand, but nobody fully understands unless you're in somebody's been in your shoes. My family didn't understand. Nobody did. Nobody did. They still don't. They just feel sorry for me. But, you know, I've probably got anywhere between 10, 15, 20 years to live. It could be longer, and God willing, it will be. But it's not Parkinson's that'll kill me. It's the issues that come with Parkinson's, the symptoms, the other problems I'm going to have as I get older and as my symptoms get worse with swallowing, choking, fluid in my lungs, things like that. That's what's going to take me. The disease is not what kills you. It's the symptoms that do. But anyway, I just wanted to give you another update. And since I've been reading so much on the movement disorder, essential tremor websites and Parkinson's websites about, questions with MRIs, DAT scans, things like that, and finding movement disorder specialists and having, the different types of tremors and the different types of symptoms that you can have, cognitive, symptoms, internal tremors, as I said, full body tremors, jerking, like you're having seizures, things like that. That is all part of it. It could be essential tremors, it could be Parkinson's, it could be both. That's the worst thing about it, is not knowing. Now, don't get me wrong. When that Parkinson's diagnosis came in, when the DAT scan came in and it said Parkinson's, I'm still having a hard time with that one. And I will for a while. I still thought that it was going to show up negative. And that I was going to have to keep fighting and figuring out something else. What else could it be? So I don't know. It's worse is having the answer or not having the answer. But my meds are working. I'm getting treatment for my back. And I'm thankful for that. But knowing that, Parkinson's is a part of my life. And it's still hard. It's still hard. But as I always tell everybody, please share this. Spread the word. Make everyone you know aware of what we go through every single day. It still takes longer for me to do things than it did before any of this happened. Not as long as it used to when I was tremoring so bad, but it still does. And when you get sick, on top of that, with, like I said, my stomach issues, it triggers it. So that's the fun part of going through all this shit, is just, we've got to keep ourselves as healthy as we can so that we don't have a reoccurrence of our symptoms. So, but share this, spread the awareness of essential tremors and of Parkinson's. And I hope this helps even one person. And show this to, your family members and let them see, you're not the only one that's going through this, and it's not all in your head, because I've read so many people say that, and I've gone through that with my family. They don't understand, even with my diagnosis now. Now they're, all lovey-dovey. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. Well, you know what? You should have understood when I was going through the worst of it. So I love my family, but we all do. But yeah, nobody knows unless they're wearing our shoes. And right now, mine are slippers. They've been slippers for quite a long time. So, thank you, everyone. And I hope this helps. I'll do another update soon. Let's hope and pray we can get through COVID. And the numbers are growing. Just please stay safe. everyone, please just stay safe, be smart, stay at home. Okay. Thank you again.